Today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite types of plants, the pothos. While most people probably think of the pothos as something that looks like this is also a pothos. This is a pothos, and these are all different kinds of pothos, which I'll go into later in the video. Let's start off by talking about soil. I have a blend of perlite, vermiculite, cocoa chips, and cocoa coir. You're going to want to cater your soil to your habits. So if you're an overwaterer, you might want to add in a little extra perlite and cocoa chips. But if you're an underwaterer like me, you're going to want to add more moisture retention like vermiculite and a higher concentration of cocoa coir. Next, let's talk about watering our pothos. The really nice thing about pothos is that they usually tell you when they need to be watered. So let me give you an example of this. So this is a pothos that needs water. I cut it last night. It hasn't had any water since last night. You can see how the leaves kind of look wrinkly, kind of like a bunched up blanket on your bed. And this is one I just cut now. You can see it's smoother. It's not really like a wrinkly blanket. That's the only way I know how to describe it, but you can tell that it needs water by how the leaves are. So this is actually really nice of the pothos, because it kind of tells you when it needs to be watered. Again, if you look at the differences in the leaves, you can tell this one has been watered, is doing okay. This one desperately needs watering, so it will tell you before it dries out. The biggest problem I used to have with pothos is when I used to overwater them and they would get root rot. Now, honestly, I water once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And one tip I have for you, if you're wondering if you should water your pothos or not, is if you put your pothos in clear nursery pots, you're able to see the root development. You can see all of the beautiful roots right here. You can see roots are starting to pop out of the bottom. I just wanted to say, if roots are in wet soil, it is a lot more problematic than if the roots are in water. And that is because the water contains oxygen, whereas sometimes the soil, if it doesn't have the right additives, will kind of suffocate the roots and cause them to rot. Another tip I want to show you real quick is with these clear pots, they're awesome. Most of the time you can see if there's moisture in here. You can see there's no moisture in this pot. It is very, very dry. While on the other hand, I just watered this one and you can see how wet it is. One more thing I want to mention real quick is light. I have found them to be great with low light. The more light they can handle, the better, the more growth they'll put out. But they're kind of like my superhero for the shelves that aren't close to the window. I have this one growing. Notice that they tend to be a lot happier in indirect, lower lighting than other plants. So that is part of the reason. And just a reminder for anyone who does want to grow a pothos like this, if 1 or 2 leaves yellow, it's okay. Eventually, after the leaf yellows, it will either fall off, it will wilt up like this one. So just FYI, this is what pretty much all pothos new leaves look like, and then they will uncurl on their own. You want to make sure you let them uncurl on their own, or it could become a little messed up like this leaf. If you'd like to make a lot of pothos babies like this, I'm going to show you how to propagate pothos. Water propagating your pothos. So if you look at the pothos stem, this is one I just cut from my big plant, and you can see here are the nodes. So as long as you cut it in between those, it should grow to a new plant, and this should also grow to a new plant. So all you have to do is cut it right there, and you can go ahead and throw these in water like this. Then in a few weeks, they'll look like this. And you can actually do this with all pothos varieties, even the larger form ones. You just want to make sure that you have somewhere for the roots to grow. Now, a lot of people prefer leca, which is like tiny clay pebbles, basically. And the reason why they prefer this method of propagating is because it does provide some aeration. One reason I like this is because my pothos doesn't fall out of the water, which sometimes happens. Another reason why I like this is because this leca actually moisture wicks water to here, and my pothos root right now is like right around here. Then it will wick up the moisture through the leca. Another way I have propagated pothos is through sphagnum moss. I do highly recommend doing sphagnum moss and perlite. I just feel like the perlite really helps me because sometimes otherwise I'll get root rot because the sphagnum moss just has too much moisture. But the perlite provides aeration, so it really helps. Here is an example of a pothos that I've propagated in sphagnum moss. It's still in sphagnum moss. It's a blend of sphagnum moss and perlite. So if I take it out, you can see all those beautiful roots. So sometimes people will propagate it in the sphagnum moss, and then they'll wash all the sphagnum moss off and they'll put it in soil. Real quick, I wanted to show you another pothos that's propagated in sphagnum moss. I do like this method a little bit better, where the moss is just up to here, so it has some room to grow. And then if I do put the lid on, it provides a humidity dome, and it just makes it root so quickly, and I love it. My favorite method of propagating pothos are these propagation bins. All you do is take a cup of soil, and then you just stick the leaves in. That's it. So all you do is stick the leaves in. You want to make sure this node here is in the soil so it can reach the water. So I throw it in the soil. It looks like this, very cutesy. Now I have bought these clear tubs that I'll throw it in and I'll water it in, but I'm going to show you in a Starbucks cup because I feel like that's more accessible to you guys. So you can really use any clear container. I like the Starbucks cups. All you do is rinse it out, plop the plant in, make sure that the leaves stay in there. They'll stay in there a lot better once they have roots. I try to make sure that a leaf isn't fully laying flat on the side just because the moisture builds up there and you don't want too much moisture on a leaf because then it could die. Just play with it a little bit until it looks like that. I water it. I'm not overly concerned with overwatering it at this point because it needs to build its roots, and it tends to root really well in very humid, very wet conditions. I go ahead and close the lid. The Starbucks cups are nice because it does have this hole, so a little bit of the humidity can come out. It's good for airflow, but at the same time, the majority of the humidity stays in the cup. So that's all you need to do. You can put it by your window, put it wherever you want, and this pothos will grow. Now, something I want to talk about is pothos styling. So you can see my mature dragon-tail pothos right over there. Here's another one I'm going to show for the video just because it's not heavy. But you can see how large the leaves are. This is the baby version of it. This is like the teenager. And then this is like a mother leaf. Look at my hand on the mother leaf. Now look at my hand compared to the baby leaf. So pothos can size up. If you want your pothos to size up, either grow it on a moss pole like I have right there, or this one's actually just grown on a stick of wood right there. There's many options. Basically, your pothos wants to climb moss, and it's really helpful if you can keep it moist because your pothos will root into it and take the moisture, thus supplying nutrients to every part of the plant. As it grows, it will grow up, similar to that one, and it will actually size up and get bigger. I want to talk about styling your pothos. Pothos are awesome because they're kind of indestructible. They're super easy plants. But one thing I really like to do with them is create a variety pothos where I have many different kinds of pothos in one pot. I really like this because it's like a bouquet of pothos and it's just really fun. So here is a larger variety pothos. I think this is my favorite plant. If you've watched other videos, you've heard me talk about it. But again, it just has all of these different kinds of pothos. Just really looks beautiful. It looks unique. It looks interesting. Lastly, I'm just gonna show you the pothos that I have. So this is a golden pothos. You can see it does have some variegation, but I do keep this in a low light area and it thrives. So I just kind of leave it alone. If you had it in higher light, then it would show more of the variegation. So this one's a good example. You see how much variegation is on this plant. This was in a higher light. It was in one of my grow boxes. Same plant, but they definitely look different. So this is the Cebu Blue Pothos. It does have a bluish tint. That's why they call it a Cebu Blue. I do notice it has like a little bit longer, a little bit more elegant leaves. Very, very beautiful. So right here is a bit more of a mature leaf from the Cebu Blue Pothos. You can see the fenestrations. So again, if I decided to grow this up a pole or a mouse pole, it would form to this more mature state and it would have holes in it, fenestrations in it. So this is a neon green pothos. You can tell the difference in shade of leaf. It is this neon green color. For the most part, it's just this neon green color. Next pothos I have is this Snow Queen neon green pothos. So again, it looks a lot, it's the same color as the neon green pothos, but if you do look at the leaves, you can see a little bit of color differentiation. You can see it right here. This is just beautiful color. Next, we have, the dragon-tail pothos, which mentioned before. Over there is a large form. Next, I want to talk about the Pothos Enjoy. This is a beautiful pothos, and I really, really like it. It's so easy to care for. Whether it's in bright light or low light, it will continue to have this variegation. So I definitely recommend picking up one of these. Lastly, very similar to the Pothos Enjoy, I have this Pothos Green Global. If you look at the leaf, the pattern is really similar to a Pothos Enjoy, but it's more of a light green and a dark green together. I have found that less variegated pothos tend to grow quicker, so this is a pretty quick grower. Definitely recommend you pick up a bunch of different kinds of pothos and grow them all in one pot. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember you are loved, and I'll see you next time. Bye.